It's the Jack and Nick Horror Show.
Man, Nick, we are kicking ass on this show.
I know, we really did a great job of finally showing up to get another recording in,
Yep.
which is now the running joke of the show that we have
Yeah.
to talk about as we start.
I don't know where you've been. We've been doing a show every week.
Oh yeah, weekly. Week in, week out, never miss a week.
We don't record when we do the show.
So, you want to tell the people where we've been?
No.
Yeah. Work or work?
Or family or...
I went to Disney World.
I did not go to Disney World.
I broke my arm there.
You broke your arm.
That was stupid.
No, it wasn't. It's not your fault. You slept, right?
Yeah, I did. Now, that's a true story. I actually went to Disney World 2 weeks ago and broke my arm there and ruined my own vacation. So the only time I get off of work, I broke my arm there.
And then he couldn't record because he couldn't lift up his microphone headset.
It's true.
Oh.
My arm was pretty bad for a few weeks.
Yeah. It was in a sling, you know.
And now it's perfectly fine 2 weeks later. But it's still broke, they tell me.
Well...
This is boring.
This episode, we're not going to have a movie of the week, but we're going to have movies of the week, or something like that. We're going to play catch-up and discuss some movies that we have both seen and our thoughts on them, if you care to like them or not. And what else, Nick?
Maybe some other horror news stuff. But, you know, the reason we do episodes like this is because we can't coordinate a movie between the two of us, and we're like, oh my god, we should record this week because we both have a day where we can both record, so let's just do it. And then, like, I save up all these movies that I've watched that I don't talk to anybody about them. I'm like, I'm going to talk to Jack about this movie someday, and then I don't talk to anyone about it for months. And then when I talk to Jack, it's just like bursting, you know, like a waterfall that comes out my mouth hole, except it's sound. And, like, it's my description of the movie, which you're going to hear.
Correct. So, stand by, because we're going to talk about a game.
So the first thing we're going to talk about before we even talk about movies, if you go back like a year ago, you'll hear an episode of me and Jack talking about the Friday the 13th game and how much we enjoyed it. And we just wanted to talk about it briefly because now that game is dead. Not dead, not entirely dead, but they are not going to update that game anymore. And if you hadn't been following that game, there had been a steady stream of new content. Sometimes silly stuff like new outfits for the characters in the game, or fun stuff like new Jasons to play as. If you hadn't been following the game at all and hadn't listened to our episode, the Friday the 13th video game is on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and you get to play as a camp counselor running away from Jason, or Jason chasing after the other people. It's all a multiplayer online game. It's fun, and we enjoyed it, but they were going to add, you know, Uber Jason from Jason X and the spaceship as a map that you could run around, and that's all canceled. They were going to add stuff pretty much until people got bored with the game. Like, we were expecting content for years from now because they had a huge roadmap all laid out. But there is an ongoing and far-reaching legal battle over the rights to the Friday the 13th franchise. And if you're interested in the Friday the 13th franchise, it'd be movies, TV show, the TV show that they were developing. Weren't they developing two TV shows at one point for this? Like, they were going to make a pilot for one channel and something for the other. I don't know. It's all rumors and bullshit. You all know that. But all of the rights are tied up in this legal battle that since it's murky and unclear who owns all the royalties to the stuff, they can't make new content for the video game, was my big point. So that kind of sucks, Jack.
Yeah, it does. And this is all because of the writer of the original Friday the 13th movie, who was like just told to write a movie. It wasn't even like, it was his brainchild from the get-go. And they were just doing it to mimic Halloween so they can make a movie. And now all of a sudden the guy has rights, he has the rights to the... It's a bunch of horseshit. But it's not his fault necessarily, even though he does own the rights and people are being sticklers with him and screwing him, so he's screwing them back. And he tried to play fair, but other people didn't play fair, blah, 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 blah. It's just a big pain in the ass, because they have a game, and the game is fun. We've talked about it here on our show, which was, I guess, 2 episodes ago, like last year.
Yeah, like a year ago.
Yeah. And, yeah, the game is a lot of fun. It's been getting more and more fun because they keep adding stuff to it, including, the little story mode where you play different scenarios in Friday the 13th movie, and it's fun. You get to play as Jason, and people go take a piss, and then you impale them on a tree, and there's things like that that's just fun and good, and people were enjoying it and eating it up, and they were adding characters from sequels, and everything was just coming all together, and people were enjoying it, and then this came up, which is kind of odd, because why didn't it come up before the release of the game? But I guess the rights reverted right now,
The weird thing about the guy who wrote the first one, seeking more rights to the whole franchise, is like, the first movie is very different from every other movie because Jason is not really in the first one except for one scene, and he's a boy. It's not like he created the iconic character of Jason as we know him.
Yeah, he's only credited as characters in the Friday 13th Part 2 on. That's it. So, I don't know. It is frustrating, but it's another one of them things that it's time to move on, Yeah,
I guess.
It's like, okay, we had our Friday the 13th, we had our Jason, we had our game. It's time to move on, because what's the point right now? If you show no interest, that's when they want you to be interested. So if you're crying and wailing that you want the game to keep on updating, it's not going to. It's never going to, from what they said today. So just move on and embrace
Meanwhile,
something else.
Right, something else would be their competitor, the not quite as good game Dead by Daylight, which is the same type of thing, an asymmetrical multiplayer game where you play as people trying to not get killed by a killer. They've added a bunch of content like Freddy Krueger's in the game now, Leatherface,
Michael
Myers, like the
Jigsaw.
pig face. Yeah, Jigsaw wearing pig face. They've doubled down on their DLC release schedule. They're going to release a new chapter to their game every season with a new killer. So I guess that's nice. Next up is like Clown, but not a killer clown. But I mean, it's technically a killer clown, but not from outer space. You know what I meant. But it's not as good a game. I still play it every now and then, but it's
it's
just not that fun.
Yeah, it's not as fun as Friday the 13th. The generator thing is kind of... It feels like an app game, doesn't it?
Kinda, exactly. Like it's a jump in, play it for 5 minutes, and then move on.
The fuck out.
Yeah. But dude, remember the stupidest news of all time? That was like in
story. Hang on.
Oh, for Friday the 13th, not even the game. It was for the movie, and it was bloody disgusting. Was like, Jason's getting a new machete in the new movie. You're so full of shit, and we know it. Bloody disgusting. We know it. Okay.
It's really a shame. Like, just where Friday the 13th went. People forget where that series, almost every series, went to. I mean, we'll get to another series later, but it all went to shit. And it was overplayed. And then what happens is people including myself, everybody does. They romanticize with something once it's gone, and that's what all this nostalgia shit is all about. People are like, I love Friday the 13th. It's like, well, did you remember the shitty ones?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the shitty ones are even better. No, they're not. Okay.
We'll talk about shitty franchises later because I love talking about that, man.
Yeah, me too. But it sucks that the game is no
Dead.
longer. Yeah,
it's a zombie.
Yeah,
we'll accept that.
But guess what?
What's that?
There's still Battlefront 2.
Oh my god!
I can't stop playing it. I can't stop.
It's been 6 months, Jack.
I know. I can't stop playing. I'm getting so good at it. I'm like the top 3 almost all the time now. It's great.
Oh my god. Well,
like,
at least you're good.
There's that Satan guy. Nobody friends me though, which is great. That's the thing about playing a game that people don't like. is you don't have to deal with too many a-holes on it. It's like my favorite part, in all actuality, is seeing the other names of the players.
What?
The names of the players, like the PlayStation names, because it shows you their name.
Yeah.
And so many of them are hysterical on Battlefront 2 for some reason.
You have no examples?
No, I didn't write any of them down because I just laugh at it, and then it changes the next game, and then I laugh at the next one. I think the last one was like Benicula something. I'm like, I remember that book. Somebody had the same last name as me too, which is odd. And one person did friend me on there, and then they stopped playing with me because I wasn't good when I first started. So sorry, nerd, but like, what the heck was it? Oh, he goes, "Why does your name have 666 in it?" I said, "It keeps away all the religious people. They think I'm a Satanist. They stay away. That's all." And they're like, "Yeah, okay. I guess maybe he thought I was a Satan. I don't know. It's no big deal. We got movies to talk about. Sorry about the Friday 13th game. It sucks that, but the game is still playable. You can still download it. I'm sure PlayStation will give it to you for free or something like that. It was cool. I enjoyed it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Here we go.
This is where we play catch up. We catch up with each other and with you about the movies that we have seen. And they are going to pretty much random. Some new, some old, some whatever. No dates. I'm going to go first. Not the first movie. The most recent movie that I watched was Strangers Pray at Night. Nick, have you seen Strangers Pray at Night?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I saw the original back like 10 years ago when that came out. Was it 10 years already? I think it was about that, right?
2009? No, 8. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've heard that the sequel is better than the original.
That I would agree with completely.
Really?
Yeah, the first one's good. I like the first one, but, some of those movies that are depressing and make you want to... I don't know. I don't like depressing movies. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But for the most part, The Strangers isn't a go-to movie that I'd rewatch. Strangers Pray at Night, I watched and then I rewatched like a couple days later because it was that good. And it starts off kind of depressing. You would really like the characters, kind of, but at least I did. I felt bad for them when they started to be picked off. The coolest thing about it, and I know it's a thing right now because it happened in the 80s where there was like a lot of 50s stuff, and now that we're like 30 years past the 80s, now we're going back to the 80s just like we did in the 80s to the 50s. The aesthetic is John Carpenter zoom in, like almost Mario Bava style, on top of Argento mixed with 80s pop punk or not punk, like the very broad music, like Air Supply and Bonnie Tyler, that kind of stuff. It's funny. Remember the trailer that had Tiffany's? I think We're Alone Now in it. It's weird that it's not actually in the movie, and the scene in particular doesn't have that happen. Like the scene that you see in the trailer isn't in the movie. It's handled differently.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, but the way it's handled, my gosh. By the end of this movie, I actually had chills from how good the music choice was to what was happening on scene or on the screen. It feels like let's say like Christine and Texas Chainsaw Massacre with I don't want to say anymore because it can ruin it, but it's really, really cool. Really cool movie, and it's very simple. It's just like The Strangers. It's very simple. People go here, people get stalked, people get picked off. Except this one's different than the first one for a couple of reasons, which I'm not going to say because we don't spoil movies on the Jack and Nick Horror Show. Nick.
Yeah, so we don't. Yeah. So, but it was fun. Are you recommending it?
Yeah, it's like. It's sad at times because of people dying, but it's the way it's handled and the colors just pop and stuff. It's really cool. The only suggestion I would have is to watch it at night because a lot of the scenes take place at night, and if you watch it during the day, the sun glare on your TV, you're not going to see what the hell's going on your screen.
Yeah. Weird. Because especially saying that it looks colorful, I remember the original looks so brown in like every scene.
Yeah, this one here is dark. There's one scene in particular. It takes place at a pool, and it's lit up like a neon, like palm trees, and it's beautiful to look at. It's absolutely beautiful. Some of the scenes are very dark, though, but that's all part of it, so that they can hide and things. But it's cool, though. Oh, and Bill Pullman's son is in it, and he's fantastic. There you go.
Okay, cool.
Right.
So, I actually, now, I've seen a bunch of movies, and they're all a variation of either middle of the road or total shit. So, I won't have you guess or anything. I'll just tell you how I felt about each one, all right?
Okay.
The first one I want to talk about, though, is the movie that came out. It's on Hulu, or at least it was streaming on Hulu about a month ago. It's called Mom and Dad, and it stars... Oh my God, I forgot her name. The girl from Hellboy. What's her name?
Selma Blair.
Selma Blair. And Nicolas Cage as parents of teenagers. And the teenagers go to school, and something weird happens, and all the parents, for some reason, get the urge to come to the school and eat their kids. And
they're trying to eat them in it?
Yes, and it's not like a zombie movie, but it kind of is. Mm-hmm. It's like a hungry people movie that happens for, like, not really a reason. But, I mean, I think it's kind of the weird way that, like, animals want to eat their kids when they're disappointed. I don't know. It's a weird movie, and it's not very good at being completely crazy. But when it's completely crazy, like when it's Nicolas Cage running around trying to eat people, it's a good movie. But it's only that for like 5 minutes. Like if they had let Nicolas Cage run around like crazy trying to eat his kids for like an hour, I'd be like, watch this movie immediately. But instead, it's just kind of fun. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like they didn't go all in on the absolute craziness. They'll only have like a few scenes that are kind of crazy. And then it seems very reluctant to be that crazy again. And I don't know, there's a lot of deep characterization that maybe doesn't need to be in a movie this goofy. Like a lot of the parents talking about how they used to live these fun lives, especially like Nicolas Cage keeps having flashbacks to him like in the 80s driving around a Camaro with some topless girl and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And, he's so disappointed in his life now. And then he tries to eat his kids. So if that sounds good to you, watch that movie. But Nicolas Cage is not in it for long enough. Selma Blair is more the focus than him. But it's not a bad movie. but I kind of wish that they went all in. That's it. That's all I got to say about that one. Totally watchable. I think it's only 80 minutes long. That's also another point about most of the movies I've seen. I tend to watch movies based on their runtime because I'm like, it's only 80 minutes. Even if it sucks, I'll give it a shot. What else you seen?
Well, speaking of 80 minutes, I saw something that's under 80 minutes. It's called Breeders.
Breeders? What's that?
It's a band from Kim Deal, the Pixies. No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was.
This is going nowhere.
Yeah, it was. No,
I thought I'm all interested, and then I found out it was just the Breeders. No. Didn't they sing that Cannonball song or something?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, man, they did. I guessed right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. So you actually saw them, or you're just making up bullshit?
No, I'm making up bullshit. But this one is a movie from '86. It's guy Tim Kincaid made it, and it's one that I've always wanted to watch, but the Blu-ray was ridiculously expensive, and I find out after I get the Blu-ray that it's on Prime, of course. I don't know if it's cut up though. All this movie is girls show up, they get naked, and an alien kills them or impregnates them and takes over their body.
That's it.
That's just pretty much it until the shocking conclusion. I loved it. It was great.
Really?
I understand. I had the flu. That's another reason why we were recording.
Oh, yeah.
I had a really bad, it was really bad. And I had one of those coma weeks where I was just watching movies. A lot of times I was just passing out, and I couldn't even concentrate on a movie. But if you really want something stupid, you can't really go wrong with... I mean, you can really go wrong with Breeders. But it has a lot of gore and lots of... nudity, especially from a girl. Her name is Frances Raines, and she's in The Mutilator and Disconnected. Very, very attractive woman. Very naked in this.
Really?
Yes, extremely naked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great
you don't
stuff.
get a lot of nudity in modern movies.
You do not.
It seems like there's less nudity every year. I wonder if MrSkin.com is hurting because there's less nudity in movies every year.
I think they're doing okay. It's just where the nudity is. You really have to look for it. You're not going to find it really in the theater.
No, definitely not.
You have to look in the indie theater, or in a very boring movie that you don't want to sit around through. Mm-hmm. So that's where Mr. Skin comes into hand. No pun intended. But how about you, Nick?
So, okay, I actually got out to the movies a couple of months ago. I've been out to the movies 3 times this year. No, 4. Twice for horror and twice for not horror. And the 2 that were not horror were The Avengers and Deadpool 2. And both those movies were really good and they rocked. And the 2 movies that were horror that I actually saw in the theater were Hereditary, which I just saw this past week. We're not talking about it yet because I don't want to spoil it for Jack or you, the listener. It's very hard to talk about that movie without spoiling it, so I'm just not going to spoil that movie. But the movie that I will talk about without spoiling, that I can talk about, is A Quiet Place. Now, I don't know if anybody listening saw this movie. You probably did because you're horror fans. Jack, you didn't see this movie.
No, I'm getting the Blu-ray in July.
Right. So this movie, A Place, it had a bit of renown as it came out in the sort of January, February. We're going to release a little artsy horror film and see how well it does, period, right? That every year they put out a horror film that's like that fits that. And this one, man, it was directed by John Krasinski, who was Jim on The Office. And
he's not Jin from The Office.
Yeah, Jin from The Office. Oh, that guy's great. No, and the movie's at 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's I feel like I'm almost in the 5%. Now, if you don't know, the movie, the premise is that there are these creatures in the world that hear you, and if they hear you, they come and they viciously eat you. Every movie I watch has people getting eaten, I guess, but man, like, so they have to like live real quietly, and it's like John Krasinski, his wife, and they have 2 kids, and they also have another child on the way because she's pregnant, because they're stupid. Like, why would you get pregnant under these circumstances, right? Uh-huh. And it's them living out on a farm, but even here out in the wilderness, there's still these beasts that come out and attack them if they make any noise. And the whole movie, there's like very little to no talking, like lots of whispering, if at all, lots of like different ways that they really thought out, like what would it be like if you couldn't make any sound. Like, it's pretty well detailed in that respect. Mm-hmm. But the movie is one of those movies where it's like, if you think about it for like a second, the premise starts to come apart of like, but what about under these circumstances? You know what I mean? Like, how do you even poop?
Oh, yeah.
You know, that sort of thing.
How do you pee?
Right. And
there isn't as much pooping and peeing. Okay.
No, but there's a lot of I don't know. It's all right. Once again, only 90 minutes long. It was in theaters. It's probably out of theaters by now, by you people listening. But you'll be able to get it, like Jack said, on DVD, VOD, whatever. It's not bad per se, but I definitely didn't feel like it's anywhere near as good as the overwhelming praise. Like, I would have said that this one was like, okay. And maybe I'm in the absolute minority on that. But I don't think it's super great. And I just think it's like, I don't know. To me, it just felt like another horror movie. Like, just another horror movie with an extremely rare premise, but also a premise that I totally wasn't on board with from the start. So maybe that's why I didn't like it. Also, this movie was apparently at one point either pitched as or purposely made to possibly be a Cloverfield movie. Did you hear about that?
Nah.
The monsters in this look like baby Cloverfields. Like, they were like, fuck
Spoiler.
it. Leave the Cloverfields in. No, it's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler. It's in like the literal first scene. They show you one of these things and they look like baby Cloverfields. So this movie could have been called A Cloverfield Place instead of A Quiet Place, I guess. But it's I don't know. And also because it's quiet the whole time, when there is a jump scare, it's got to be like the loudest jump scare that you ever heard in your goddamn life.
Oh, yeah.
But that's pretty much, you know, par for the course these days, right? I don't know. I just don't think it was the 4-star banger that people really thought it was. It was okay, but not super great. Maybe not for horror fans in the same way. I wonder how other horror fans really enjoyed this. I only heard like one other podcast talk about it, because I don't really listen to podcasts as much these days, and they liked it a lot, but I don't know if horror fans in general like thought it wasn't so great or anything like that. So I'm interested to hear your opinion when you finally see it. But and anybody else's too. Like, if you want to write to me at New Jersey Nick on Twitter and let me know if you liked A Quiet Place or not, or what I should have liked about it or shouldn't have. I don't know. I just wasn't super into it.
You know what I wasn't super into?
What's that?
Jigsaw. Murders.
Oh,
no.
I totally want to see that. I don't even know how it's been almost 2 years since that came out, or a year and a half, and I still haven't seen it.
Jigsaw Murders. The
Jigsaw Murders. You bastard. Making me talk about Jigsaw.
I was so excited about this movie. I saw that. I got it at a cheap price because, what is it, Diabolic DVD was getting rid of a bunch of Code Red movies, and I'm like, yeah, I'll pull the trigger on that. You get like 15 movies for like $70.
Yeah.
And they're normally like 20 to 30 a piece. So I watched Jigsaw Murders and wasn't good. So I watched Jigsaw as well.
All right, so Jigsaw, yeah. I don't know how I haven't seen this. This is the 8th Saw movie.
Yeah. All right. So, the thing about Jigsaw is this. To compare it to something. All right. So, you have Final Destination 1, which was good. 2, which was good. 3, which was, it's alright. But then along came 4. And 4 was like, well, we're going to amp up this 3D that we showed you before and blah, 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 blah. Alright.
Yeah.
And it felt cheap. 5 took the reins back and brought it back. Okay, so Jigsaw feels cheap.
So Jigsaw is the Final Destination 4 of the Saw series?
Yeah, that's the only way I can put it. Like, it's not a bad movie. It's a Canadian production. And not that that's a bad thing, because a lot of movies are made in Canada. But you can just tell that they're doing this on the cheap. And it's not bad, but it's kind of like, what's the point? Like, why did you have to make that?
Yeah.
I guess
it's kind of like The Ring 3.
Yeah.
You saw that movie, right?
No, I stayed away, but like...
Oh. Well, let me tell you about it. It was not good.
Well, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie. Jigsaw's not bad. It's actually probably better than the 7th one, or the 6th maybe. But at the same time, it's like, I think they pulled the trigger too soon. Like, I think a lot... I understand that movies are products and people are trying to sell products. I get it.
Yeah.
But I think what the executives or whoever made the decision to make this Jigsaw movie, they're like, okay, so everybody's wanting all this retro stuff. How about we throw Saw back? We bring Saw back. Oh my God, it's a great idea. Great idea. And then they make this movie that's not... It doesn't feel like a Saw movie. It feels like a straight-to-video Saw movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's... Even though it has... no spoilers. You see him on the poster. What's his face in it? Jigsaw. He's in it.
Yeah.
And
not exactly a spoiler.
no. And you're like, well, how did he live? I thought he died. You know?
Of course.
It's... Yeah. It's good, but it's not great. But it's watchable. It really feels like a straight to video sequel. Kind of like Wrong Turn 3 or Wrong Turn 4, Wrong Turn 5.
Right.
Something like that. But it's not bad. It's enjoyable, but it's not...
But it just doesn't add anything to the series.
Yeah, it adds nothing. I mean, it adds something, but it's just like, okay, who cares? I don't care.
Right.
Carrie Elways ain't in it. There's a spoiler. He's not in it.
Damn it.
Just to let you know.
No, that's disappointing because I especially had looked forward to it as like, well, maybe they'll do something with a twist. But I remember as soon as the trailers came out and it looked like they were doing the same police procedural stuff as the old Saw movies, police procedural against gore porn shit. And I was like, God damn it. But what are you going to do? So, at any rate, the next movie that I saw, following with my theme of all the movies I've seen have people that get eaten or something, I saw the movie Day of the Dead Bloodline, which was a reimagining of the movie Day of the Dead. I don't know if it was technically a remake or what, or a sequel, but it was just so not good. So not good. Like, when you're watching a really shitty movie,
yeah,
and you're like, man, this is shitty. Like, I kept this one on in the background while I was working from home, and it's just like bad acting, bad everything, bad. Like, just, I mean, like, and so far away from the original movie that you can't even like say it's like related to the old movie in a way that is meaningful whatsoever. Good, especially like I love the original Day of the Dead that came out in 1985, I believe. Like one of my favorite movies of all time, probably top 10, one of my favorite horror movies. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, like, there's so many direct-to-video or direct-to-Netflix horror movies that come out that are just like not good at all, and this was exactly one of them. And I think it's that like maybe there's enough people that were on had worked on The Walking Dead that like they could put that on their resume or something, and then they get a job working on a zombie movie making zombies that look exactly the same as that, and it was just not good. I actually had just looked it up on Wikipedia. It is technically a remake of the original. Well, at least it was originally planned to be. And like whatever happened after that, who knows? But it's a Bulgarian-American action horror film. What does that tell you? Bulgarian-American. Like, you think they went to Canada to make a cheap movie? Guess how much it cost in Bulgaria. Like, oh man, it is just... I can't recommend that one at all, and it may be reappearing on our show at the year-end episode as my bottom one, because right now it's the bottom one. It's like I can't even like relay the story to you because it's like, oh, there are people and they're kind of living amongst zombies in their world, and even though there's zombies there, they're not very careful and they totally get eaten by zombies. Many people get eaten by zombies. The gore is like just think about like how zombie movies went from being like in the past decade. Zombie movies went from being a rarity to being completely overwhelming, zombies everywhere, like 5-10 years ago, or 5 to 8 years ago when The Walking Dead started, really. There was like a zombie craze, and like how many zombie movies came out and stuff, and like there were so many people being eaten, and now you watch people get eaten by zombies, and it's like, I don't feel anything anymore. Yeah. Like, at all,
Yep. It doesn't have the same impact because it's right. The same shit over and over again.
Like, oh, wow, their skin got stretchy when those teeth pulled on it. Like, it used to be really something to see that, and now it's just not. And unless they, like the only way you can do that with a zombie movie is to make you care about the characters or no, that's it. Like, they have to make you care about the characters so that watching them get torn apart is terrible. And this movie completely does not do that. And it is bad. That's it.
I mean, there are a lot of movies that do that and make you not give a shit about the characters.
Absolutely. And this one was direct to Netflix, I believe. So it's on Netflix right now if you want to go watch Day of the Dead Bloodline, but I would say you shouldn't.
Annihilation. I saw Annihilation.
Okay. Yay. I saw Annihilation, and I already talked about it, and I said I liked it. Did you like it?
I did. Quite a lot, actually. And I know one of the themes, and some new listeners, or maybe listener, that we have.
Yes. Sean Kelly.
Yeah.
He gets name dropped because he responds to us.
It's true. I know your thing is that you like the one with the universe.
I like any movie where it ends and someone becomes one with the universe, or any story or anything like that. I love that.
And the cool thing about this movie is pretty much a lot of characters become one with the universe.
In a way.
In a way. That's all I'll say, really. It's cool. It's different. It kind of... It feels like Predator, but with girls.
Oh, yeah. It feels like there's a lot of familiar elements in this movie that make it feel like Predator or Alien. And there's even stuff where they took, shots and mimicked other movies. I had seen it online in an article. I think it was on Film School Rejects, that was like you can see the lineage of other movies in this movie.
Even
which
The Thing.
The Thing is another one. And this movie, just in case you don't know, Annihilation is about a group of military soldiers that are all women that go into this weird, shimmery, interdimensional pull in the universe that they don't understand what it is, and hopefully they'll come back. But do they? And it's real weird, and very surreal. Made by the guys who made Ex Machina.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to see Jennifer Jason Leigh clothed, this is your movie.
Right.
She used to get naked in like every movie before, if you recall. But not this time, which is good, because I think she's a really good actress. Natalie Portman, I think, is great in it. Like, the whole cast is great. It's got some really cool gore scenes, which I'm not going to talk about, because that's a spoiler in itself. First time I ever seen a gory scene like what I see in this movie. And I think that's it for Annihilation. I don't want to spoil too much. If it looks like your cup of tea, drink it. If not, go drink something else. There you go. Nick, what else you got?
Yeah. It's probably going to be most people's cup of tea, and I think that one may make another appearance on the year-end episode. I always like to plug our year-end episodes because there's a very good chance our year-end episode could be the very next episode because we never record. But yeah, that one is probably my favorite horror movie I've seen this year so far, Annihilation. So we'll see if anything can top that.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Movie number 4 on the list of shit Nick's seen lately that people are eating other people in. The movie called Cargo, which is on Netflix. At least it's on there now. It's another one. Like, everything I've seen is either direct to Hulu, direct to Netflix, whatever. So, this movie was another zombie movie.
Oh, dear.
Oh, my God. Why do I do this to myself?
Wait a second. Is this the one with Freeman?
Martin Freeman is, yes, in this movie.
Is that the one with his daughter or something? He's carrying her?
Yeah, good synopsis. So that's pretty much the movie. He's in Australia, in the bush, and they...
I could have sworn... I didn't see it, but I saw the... Go ahead. Sorry. I'll shut up.
Right, no, there's all, like, infected people out there, and, like, they're trying not to be associated with other people because they could get infected if they go to the wrong areas and stuff like that. And his wife gets bit. He's trying to protect his child from the wife, and then he's also slowly possibly turning into a zombie, and he's trying to trek away from his house to get the kids someplace safe. That's the movie. And that's not the movie. That really didn't describe all the things that happen in this movie because he ends up on the wrong property of the wrong people. And also there's a bunch of Aboriginal people, and I think that this movie may have been some sort of allegory for the relationship of Aboriginal peoples with the people of Australia, but I don't really know enough about it, and I can't comment on that. But there is a lot of, like, just neat stuff in it. Typical world after a zombie crisis. Except it's a little bit different because, like, Martin Freeman's character is not really prepared to live in this world, but he is kind of living in this world. Like, he doesn't know how to shoot a gun. He doesn't know how to do things like that. He doesn't have any traps prepared. Like, they were living peacefully, just, in isolation. And now they have to kind of go out there and find other people. And it's kind of interesting to see Martin Freeman in a movie like this because he's such, like, a gravitas actor, if you don't know who he is, he was the Hobbit. Uh-huh. He's the guy who's the guy from America in Wakanda. What?
He's the other Jim from the British Office.
Right, he's the other Jim from the British Office, but he also plays an American in Black Panther, and he's the only, like, white dude in the whole movie.
Except for Circus. What I'm talking about? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one, too. He who played Gollum, like, there are two hobbits in there.
And, they were called the Tolkien white people in Black Panther. That was the joke.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was funny. I thought it was funny.
So anyway, yeah, this movie was not terrible. It actually kind of reminded me of the movie that came out about 3 or 4 years ago called The Battery, which was very much like a slice of life after a zombie uprising, just people trying to be people and live, and then bad shit happens all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm. Or Stakeland, let's say. Maybe. That's
Yeah, I would compare
it
to something like that favorably. In fact, Stakeland very much so, because they end up in sort of the wrong part of the zombie town, the same way that they end up in the wrong part of the vampire town in that movie, and it's not bad at all. Actually, this movie was kind of good, and I'm liking it more the more I talk about it. So, go watch that if you want. It's a brisk, probably under 90 minutes movie, which is most important. Oh, apparently I checked on the internet, it's 105 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
A little long in the tooth for movies that I've been watching off Netflix. But as far as the shit I've randomly watched off Netflix the past couple of weeks, it wasn't too bad, and I think it was I think I can recommend it. So I will recommend Cargo on Netflix. There you go.
Okay, well, here we go. I got 2 left. I'm going to go out with a bang with the last one. Have you ever heard of a movie called Spellbinder?
I recognize the name, but I don't know what the fuck it is.
This is also on Prime, by the way. And that's where I watched it. And I actually ordered the Blu-ray because Kino Lorber had... And they're still having... but when you listen to this episode, probably not. It's over. They're having a sale, and I got it pretty cheap. It's on Prime. It stars Kelly Preston, Tim Daly. Do you remember Rick Rossovich from the 80s? He was in...
No.
Yeah. It's got Mrs. Roper in it as well. Anyway, it is... Here's the cool part. I'll give you the IMDb synopsis, just so. A young lawyer, after falling in love with a beautiful woman, finds that she has an extremely mysterious past. That sucks. Okay, so the basics. Okay, so this flick starts with Tim Daly and Rick Rossovich walking. They just got done lawyering and all this kind of shit, and they're in the parking lot talking about bullshit. And then there's Kelly Preston, who has a guy from late 80s, early 90s, Steven Seagal haircut, beating her up. And Tim Daly comes over, threatens the guy, chases him away, and he says, "You're gonna die, motherfucker," And then she's like, "Oh, my hero." And of course, just like naturally in real life, they go home and have sex right away. But like, they don't necessarily, they don't necessarily have sex. She does some kind of thing where she takes the pain out of his back with her hands. So anyway, the rest of the movie is those two fall in love, but then she's part of a satanic cult who wants to keep her in the cult, but she doesn't want to be in the cult. And at first, when I was watching it, I'm like, this sucks. This is stupid. Everything about this movie is stupid. But then I started to like the stupidness of it. And it gets more and more absurd as it continues until the end of the movie, which I'm definitely not going to spoil. But it didn't actually end the way I thought it was going to, which was cool. And I enjoyed the shit out of it. So it's a cool movie. If you're into 80s kitsch shit, this is the one. If you want to see Kelly Preston without clothes again, this is your movie. But it's handled very tastefully. Everything in this movie is pretty tasteful. That's all I'm going to say. It's cool. Cool flick. All right. I got one more, and I know I'm going to tread lightly on that, but I'll wait till you go. After you, Nick.
All right. The movie that I recently saw on Netflix, and I only watched it because I mistakenly thought it was new, but it is not. And I don't think anyone gets eaten in this movie. But it's totally like a middle of the road. It wasn't as bad as I expected it to be just based on the artwork for the movie. It's called Last Shift, and it's about a girl who is a police officer working her first night on the last shift. What?
I got this. I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah, I have the Blu-ray. I got it a few years back.
Yeah, it came out like in 2014, and it was not terrible, but like completely a watch it once and like a disposable movie. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you watch it once and you go, whatever. Wasn't terrible, but it's not good, and I'm not recommending it to the people out there. I'm more warning you. You could do better things with your time if you're like, oh, Last Shift is in my queue. Just remove it from your queue. Okay?
Yeah. It's like that haunted house that you want to go check out because it's local, and you go and you're like, all right, and you forget about it.
Absolutely, because it is kind of a haunted house movie, except it's a haunted police station. Mm-hmm. The girl's the only one in the police station, and shit keeps happening. That's weird, and then she thinks it's other people are fucking with her, but of course it's not. It's demons, which is, all over the artwork for the movie.
I thought it was good, though. I thought it was good, but it's not, I understand completely what you're saying, though. It's one that, I haven't thought about until you just mentioned it.
Do you know what's weird is that there are so many movies on Netflix like that? Because last year when my wife was having surgery, I watched a handful of movies while she was having a back surgery or neck surgery done, and I was just sitting there watching the middle of the road Netflix movie, one after the other, and they go in to my brain, and then they just disappear and fade away because I can't even remember the names of them.
That's what.
And they're all fucking demon guy comes and does a thing, or there's something strange in this town,
Yep.
And it completely just even this movie Last Shift, I watched it this week when I had some extra time, and it just evaporated from my brain. There's not a lot of gore. There's not any nudity that I could recall. There's not I'm thinking about it on its most basic levels, and I'm still I don't know if I can recommend this movie to y'all unless you've seen every other movie on streaming services available to you. Then move on to late shift, last shift, and it's Last Shift, not Late Shift. But it's not bad. Maybe a good first try for whoever directed it, but it was kind of just once and done.
So the last movie I saw other movies too, but the last one I'm going to talk about is Terrifier.
Oh yeah, Terrifier. I've been wanting. It's hard to say for some reason because you would never say it. It's not a word that you would ever say. Terrifier.
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 It sounds like somebody from Boston saying Terrifier. And I'm probably going to get shit for that, too.
So this movie's a killer clown.
Yeah. If you had seen All Hallows Eve, you're familiar with Art the Clown. That was an anthology movie that came out a few years back. I watched it. Really enjoyed, especially how it ends. Pretty cool. Especially the wraparound. Anyway, this is about Art the Clown, and Art the Clown kills people. That's it.
But I heard that this was better than average.
It is, but it's like another one of them movies that it's not bad. No, it's one of those movies that it kind of has some shocks in it where some people live and some people die, and you're like, really? That person dies? But it feels cheap, and it is cheap, and that's fine. I have no problems with cheap. I like shot on video movies, or shit on video movies, whatever way you want to say it. And it has some great gore. It has some pretty gory effects. It's basically a guy dressed as a clown that kills people and traps them in this warehouse, or not warehouse, but it feels like a warehouse. It's
I feel like I've seen that movie 100 times.
It's like a rundown apartment complex. He's in the
what a twist! Not a warehouse.
He's in the basement, and he ties people up and then fucks with them, and then they get away, and then he catches them. It's like that, you know. It's like if you're cool with that kind of movie, then have at it. But it's very mean spirited, which is fine. You know, it's cool. It's kind of like how I felt watching The Strangers, except this is more. There's more to it than The Strangers.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I got for Terrifier. I'm not gonna. I don't want to spoil too much. So that's all. All right.
I'm interested in seeing it. Maybe I'll like it more than you. Maybe I won't, because the elements that I had heard that were good about it were that it was like a good modern slasher.
Yeah.
And you seem to have said nothing of the effect. So
no, it is, but it's like I've seen it before. You know.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie, and it's not a great movie. It's good. You know. It's like okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
You understand. You'll see what I mean.
Yeah, no, that's on my list of shit I want to see this year. I'm going to talk about one more movie, and then I'm going to talk about how I feel about movies in 2018 in general.
Okay.
But the movie that I also saw on Netflix, because of its brisk pace, it was an hour and 16 minutes long, the shortest movie I've ever goddamn heard of.
Best.
It's what?
That's the best. But go ahead.
I know, right? And it came out this year. Well, I think technically it was released at a festival last year, but it came to Netflix this year, so it just got released. God damn it! It's Desolation.
Desolation.
Have you seen this one yet?
No.
Okay, so this one is 3 people, a woman who has a son. Well, her son is the second person, and he's like a teenager, and their friend go camping. And they kind of see a person in the distance who's kind of watching them, and then it seems like they're being watched, and then bad things happen. That happens, and it is it's okay. It was really good. I think it was okay. I don't want to say, I hesitate to say really good. I'll say it was okay, because I don't think I ever want to watch it again, but it was not a bad movie. It's not too like, it's a pretty predictable movie. It's fairly predictable. Not a lot. There's a lot of character development for an hour and 16-minute movie, because like the woman who has the son, her husband died, and he had gotten sick, and like it's kind of about how the mother and the son have struggled to bond after that happened, and all the sort of things like that. And I feel like there's like, it's kind of heavy because of that. Like, it's got a heavy emotional quotient to this movie, and there's also a lot of like girl talk between the 2 girl characters, the female characters. Like, they talk in multiple scenes where like the kid goes away or is sleeping, and there's no horror movie going on. It's just the 2 of them talking as if they're 2 very realistic women talking, which many people listening might be like, I don't want to fucking watch that now if it's just people talking. But it is deeper in a character development, from a character development standpoint, than you could possibly expect from an hour and 16-minute movie. It honestly felt more like a short video game than a movie, because if you've played like a short, emotionally impactful video game, something like Firewatch or Gone Home, you'd probably understand what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. It is also, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Until Dawn. Just Until Dawn, in the scenes in that video game where you are walking through the woods forever and it's just people talking, but instead of it being insipid teenagers, it's actually like kind of like interesting people with an emotional anchor to their story. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I guess I would totally recommend this movie. It's not like, I can't once again recommend it because there's so much gore and blood and guts, you gotta see it. But it's a smarter horror movie. The horror in it is not particularly smart, but the movie itself has a dramatic core that is to be appreciated. That's my recommendation for this movie. Otherwise, not the greatest, not the worst. So check that one out. It's also on Netflix. I know I catch a lot of movies on streaming services, but so do you, person listening. So shut up and quit judging me. But what I want to talk about with movies in general, and especially horror movies this year, I feel so disappointed. And I mean, it's not just because I'm a jaded horror fan, because I'm always like, sort of ready to keep an open mind about horror movies in a lot of ways, right? Like I don't like to go in and just be the jaded, oh, this movie's gonna suck. It's a Saw movie, or it was made by James Wan, or whatever. I'll watch anything. I will watch any horror movie, and just to see it,
Mhm.
And I really don't go in with like preconceived notions, because I see so many horror fans do that I absolutely hate it. Like whenever a good horror movie comes out and horror fans are immediately like shitting on it, like, dude, it didn't even scare me. Fuck you. Was it good?
Right.
A movie doesn't have to be scary to be good. Anyway, I'm defending myself a little bit here, but this year I feel like that douchebag. And I can't tell if it's because I am that douchebag, or if it's because like I just haven't really liked a lot of the movies I've seen this year. Like everything that I hear is so good or so cool, I check out and I'm like, that wasn't really a whole lot of meat to that movie. Like one movie that I'm skipping over that I saw that I think I talked about it on a previous podcast, so I didn't want to revisit it, was Killing of a Sacred Deer. And it's like I had heard such things about this movie, and I watched it and I was just like, I saw Hereditary. It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm like, it's okay. I saw A Quiet Place, which has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm like, yeah, it's not bad, but it didn't really wow me. All these movies, and then I watch these other movies, and I'm like, where are the movies that I'm like, yes, this is going to be on my top 5 at the end of the year for sure, And maybe it'll be coming. Maybe like it'll be a big fall with movies. I'm saying all this, but there's still a Purge movie coming out in 2 weeks, and you know how near and dear to my heart the Purge movies are, and I absolutely love them. And if you're wondering if I'm looking forward to the first Purge, I certainly fucking am. I will watch that no matter what. I love the Purge movies. Love them. But I just feel like there's nothing that's like really quite wowed me other than Annihilation, which is like easily the best movie I've seen this year so far in the 7th month of the year.
You have to watch The Strangers Pray at Night.
God damn it, is that it? I missed one?
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from, and not that I have seen too many movies this year, in the theater, I should say, but I think a lot of it's not that you're jaded necessarily, but once you've been shocked by whatever it was that shocked you, nothing else will ever reach that plateau.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're going to movies that people are like, oh my god, this is the scariest movie I've ever seen, and scary to them is like Bambi's mom getting shot, then you go to it and you're like, man, you're just let down. I think a lot of, it's weird, movies, not necessarily 2018, but a lot of horror movies tend to either go too extreme where they lose you, or they don't go far enough where it's just mundane and you're like, ugh. And a lot of times they're trying to cut down because of the budget. They're trying to save money. And they're mostly like dialogue, or remember the Bumble fucking core or whatever all that shit was before.
Bumblecore, yeah.
It's like they're trying. I understand they're trying stuff, but it's almost like you have the ball, all you have to do is throw it. It's like Deadly Friend. Okay, remember Deadly Friend with Christy Swanson?
Oh my god!
Right, and you go into that movie and you're like, this is gonna be crazy. This girl is like a robot or some shit who looks like a zombie who puts like a basketball through somebody's head. I gotta go see that movie. That looks crazy. And then it's really not. And it's like, okay, so that wasn't really a good movie. All right. that's kind of what's happening. You know,
I'm
it
nodding.
happens.
You can't see I'm nodding.
No,
but
no,
yes.
but it like it's almost like. And this is why so many people are still nostalgic or whatever. But when you have the initial pizzazz and the coolness of whatever it is that you're looking at, you know, like even Night of the Creeps or something like that. You're like, oh my god, this is the movie that's great. Return of the Living Dead. This movie's great. And then eventually you see Return of the Living Dead 4. Rave to the Grave, and you're like,
I've seen them all.
Yeah.
Rave to the Grave. Like, why?
Even part 2, which wasn't that good, but
right.
like, you know, it's that it's not necessarily sequels. It's just movies. They tend to not really be as they don't have balls. They're kind of ball free.
Yeah, you know, and I think another thing that happened, and I was just talking to you about this, but I'm going to talk about it on the show now. Mm-hmm. Over the past couple of years, we've been podcasting for I think this is our 7th year of podcasting. And when we first started, art house horror was just developing. Like, it was barely even a thing. And we would get like 1 or 2 art house movies a year, and then suddenly we would get like 5 or 6 art house movies a year, and then it blew up more and more every year. I'm thinking back on movies like, you know, Kill List and The Babadook, different things that had once again a stronger emotional core. And were like more impactful and intentionally so, and just stronger movies in general. And then the things started happening where we would get one every like February to January, which would be like a great movie, like in It Follows, The Witch, Get Out, these otherwise kind of art housey type horror movies. This year you get A Quiet Place or Hereditary coming out to the theaters. And I feel like the ones that have come out recently, specifically A Quiet Place and Hereditary, are nowhere near as good as like every other movie I just mentioned, except for Kill List, which I don't even know why that one came to mind. But, well, some people like Kill List, Jack, but not Nick. But, you know.
I grew to appreciate it more, but it's not the greatest.
Yeah, but even so, there are like a lot of older, not even older, but like movies from the past couple of years that I liked a lot more than the modern, current art house movie of the moment. You know, one that I think of last year that I didn't see, but that I heard wasn't that great was It Comes at Night, which had like a lot of hype before it came out and was perhaps overhyped. And maybe that's kind of a thing now, is that like as the masses are now consuming this horror, like it's gone mainstream and they don't appreciate things in the same way that like we as horror fans might have, you know?
Yeah, to quote Christopher Walken from True Romance, it's the show and tell where you tell me everything but you show me nothing. You know? Sure. It's kind of what's happening. See, now, True Romance, that's a movie that has balls. It shows you shit.
Oh, yeah.
It takes them out. It's like, here they are. You can jiggle them.
Man. Movies that would not come out in the year 2017.
That's, I don't know. I understand where you're coming from, though, man. It's kind of, it's not devastating. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, toot this movie's dick, but the Prey at Night shit, dude, it's so fucking simple. It's like it's like Terrifier. It's so simple, but it's just exactly that. It knows what it is, and it's getting to the point. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, oh man, this movie's taking forever. No, it gets right down to it and says, here we are, entertain us. Like, this is a movie. You're gonna see people get chased and crazy shit's gonna happen. Either you're gonna like it or you're not.
That's cool. Yeah. I'll have to try and see that before the end of the year when we do our top 5, bottom 1. We will plug this every episode until we do our top 5, bottom 1. It's my favorite thing of the year. But anyway, I guess that's it for horror movies until we have, like, maybe something else to talk about as we end the show.
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So, Jack.
Yeah.
There's this group of people on the internet now, totally not a horror movie, but totally gonna relate to a horror movie in a second, that are trying to get the movie The Last Jedi remade, the 8th Star Wars movie, right?
Yeah.
Now you liked The Last Jedi a lot.
Yeah, I did.
I thought it was I didn't think it was a bad movie, but I did really enjoy it a whole lot. But I don't think it's terrible. I certainly don't think it ruined my childhood or something. I don't even care about Star Wars that much. I don't think it ruined Star Wars. You know what I mean?
It didn't.
No, it totally didn't, because Star Wars is still a thing. And there are a million different things that we could say about this, about how Star Wars was already ruined by the books that came before and did even stupider shit that ever happened in that movie. But Star Wars fans probably know this in their hearts, but they're too stupid to admit that, oh man,
there are bigger things going on in the world than they made a movie I didn't like and they need to remake it. Let's start an online petition to get this movie remade so I can enjoy my Star Wars again. That's exactly that's the voice I hear in my head when I hear this shit.
Yeah, and it absolutely is one of those things where, as a creator, no matter what you're creating, be it a dinky little podcast like the Jack and Nick Show or the biggest of Star Wars movies, you should never listen to your audience. You should always do what you're going to do and tell the story that you're going to tell.
Correct.
Because at the end of you can pay attention to your audience and stuff, and if you agree with them, move with it. But never move in the direction that they want you to, especially if you don't want to. Because the audience of everything, this is every fandom, the audience does not know what they actually want.
No, they don't.
And I could tell you, anything. All right, so what do they want for Star Wars? We want just a paint by the numbers Star Wars. Okay, so you want a kid's cartoon, which is essentially what the old Star Wars movies are, except they're very cartoonishly goofy if you actually pay attention to the Star Wars movies without the weight of, oh my God, I'm watching a Star Wars movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I could relate this to pro wrestling, where as soon as they tell a nuanced storyline, it goes right over the fans' heads. And what do they claim that they want all the time? Better storylines. And then they'll be questioning why things happen as soon as there's any ounce of nuance added to a story. Mm-hmm. The same thing is true with horror fans, which brings us to the Halloween official trailer, which has been released, Halloween 2018. And I'm not saying that the movie looks terrible or anything, but with regards to the fandom of Halloween, I have been annoyed for the past, decade or so, mainly because they hated the Rob Zombie movies and said that it ruined Halloween, even though there were many movies before that made of Halloween that kind of ruined Halloween. And the things that they're even getting excited about in the new movie, oh my God, he has a decrepit mask in this movie. That was already true of not even just the Rob Zombie remake, but several other Halloween movies. Do you people watch these movies?
Well, the mask was different in every movie after the first
I know,
one.
but they're oh my God, it's going to be different in this one.
Well,
it's going to be slightly more cracked and old.
Well, yeah. What they're doing is, we all know that it's a direct sequel to the first one, kind of like Texas Chainsaw 3.
God. Yeah,
Um,
Texas Chainsaw 3D from 2013.
Sorry.
In fact, I think it's just called Texas Chainsaw now. They don't call it the 3D so that they
Yeah,
could sell
yeah.
it at home, right?
Yeah, it's changed. But it's a direct sequel to Halloween, and what they're doing is making a direct sequel, but still somewhat homaging and nodding everything that came after Halloween. Be it like Halloween 2, Halloween 3, 4 and 5, 6, the other bullshit, and then, H2O, and even Rob Zombie's movies, hence The Mask. So I think it is going to be a fun movie, and if you don't like it, you got the other ones. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, just deal with it. Just fucking
I think that
deal with
people,
it.
though, what really annoys me, even outside of the Rob Zombie movies, people act like this is like a revolutionary movie when it's kind of even a story that has literally been told in other Halloween movies where, like, he came back and got Jamie Lee Curtis once before. Like, it's happened already. I don't know. And the new one does look cool, I guess, in the trailer. And now I totally sound like the horror fan that I thought I was, right? The jaded dickhead horror fan. That's me now. I mean, I'll totally watch it because I would watch this even if I wasn't on a podcast where I have to watch big horror releases.
The only thing is that we just have to keep going back to the same well over and over again.
Right.
It's really, and I want to see it. I think it looks great. It looks fun. It looks like a Halloween movie. Cool. But I don't know, man. I'm going to enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, but the people who are either going to really enjoy it or really, well, I should say really overrate it or immediately turn on it are the Halloween fans. Because just like with The Last Jedi, if you step out of the boundary of what is expected of this movie whatsoever, they will fucking turn on you so fast.
Well, they're already turning on it because they're like, but there's no Halloween 2. Halloween 2 was so good. I loved Halloween 2. And it's like, yeah, Halloween 2 was good. So was Halloween 1. 3 was cool. I liked 4 and 5 a lot. People find them boring, whatever, and stupid. Okay, 6 is completely idiotic. They're movies. It cares. Look at the fucking Texas Chainsaw franchise. Yeah. That thing is all over the place like cat shit. And you got what is it? Friday the 13th. Nobody knows what's going on with that. Nightmare on Elm Street. Did you guys see Freddy's Dead? I did.
Right. And the 2 movies that came after Freddy's Dead?
Yeah. And did you see the final Friday? I did too. The final chapter. I know it's the final chapter before people write in and go, it wasn't the final Friday. Actually, I can't believe that The Last Jedi needs to be remade so I can have my childhood back so I can die in peace. It's like, ugh. There are world problems that deserve your money more so than a remake of The Last Jedi, which is not going to get remade. And if you're a dumbass and actually contribute to this thing, you know what's going to happen? You're not going to get your money back. That's what's going to happen. You're going to lose it because Disney's going to say, yeah, fuck you guys. We're going to the 3rd movie. I heard that they put all the other movies on hold because Solo didn't perform.
Right, which is funny because it's like the people who protested that movie and weren't going to see it and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They're the ones who directly killed Star Wars as you know it. Yeah. You fucking kids. Like, once again, and everybody was so excited when that was announced. And I was like, guys, you really think you want that? And then it came out and they were like, nope, we didn't want that. We didn't want more Star Wars. Everybody wants a more adult Star Wars that treats them with respect and all that. And then that actually happens and they're like, oh my God, we can't deal with the changes that you've made. Yeah. Why are you doing that?
Did they see the first 3? Like Empire is everybody embraces Empire and they talk shit on Jedi. Everybody shit on Jedi when that came out. They shit on the other, the prequels, They forced George Lucas to get all depressed again.
Right.
You know? And that's like, hey, guys, you just shit on everything. Just shit
Right.
and shit and shit because why? Somebody took your toys and did a different performance than what you're used to.
And I think it's just, especially with Star Wars, it is just an absolute overrating of what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, they're very silly movies. When you go back to the original and just watch it,
They're zero. They're
it's very pulpy, you know? It's not a fucking the masterpiece that people think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Star Wars, very good movie. Star Wars 2, well, you know, the Star Wars movies are good movies. I even like the prequels more than most people.
I like Rogue One. Rogue One was good.
You know, it's just people overvalue it in their minds, and they don't even realize that they're doing that. Why are you doing that, guys?
This thing's gotta be the best movie ever. It's like, guys, it's not everything is the best movie ever. You understand
Right.
that? One day.
And I mean, dude, it's just like fucking goddamn horror movies and Halloween. It's not perfect. Nothing is terrible.
Nothing can
Like
nothing can be Rawhead Rex. You know, that's no I'm just kidding. Totally kidding.
Man. So that's how I feel about the Halloween trailer. The good thing about it is it will come at the exact time of year that I would want a movie exactly like that.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to see the what is it? The Suspiria remake. I like Suspiria quite a bit. And
Yeah,
saw
you know,
that trailer.
it looks that looks you know, I feel a little bit weird about it where it's like it's completely different than the original and probably didn't mean to be made, but at the same time it looks kind of good as what they made it as, maybe. I don't know. I'll see it. I'm probably more excited for the Halloween remake than that one because I don't even really not too into the original Suspiria, but it kind of looks like it's evoking like the remake looks like it's evoking the mood of like a couple of movies that we've seen over the past couple of years where it's like very atmospheric looking, you know.
I heard it's going to be gory and there's
yeah. Let's hope.
Whatever. Let's see. I like the original one, so.
I know you do, but I'm just saying. I hope it's good. I hope everything.
If it isn't,
I hope everything's fucking good, you people.
Yeah. If it's not good, I still got Suspiria. I get it on DVD and Blu-ray, and it doesn't matter. It just whatever.
Yeah, man. What a world. What a world.
What a world. What a world. All right. Well, we're signing off. We got.
Oh yeah, we got
things to do.
Do we?
Yeah, let's go to sleep.
Oh right.
Yes. Well, thanks for listening. Hopefully we can record again soon. Nick, it was a pleasure to talk with you again.
It always is. I'm always so happy when we can actually get our shit done.
Yes. And, yeah. Thank you for listening to our wonderful show. Hopefully we get a new one in by the end of the year. Love
Seriously.
Your face. Yeah. You watch. We'll probably be here every week. All right.
That'd be so awesome.
Yeah. We'll get there. It's gonna happen. I'm actually talking right now with my eyes closed. All right.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just kidding. All right. Good night, Nick.
Good night.
I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Or
Thank you, people.
we don't actually see each other when we're Skyping. That would be
Right. We should. I have no shirt on right now. It's disgusting.
okay. I gotta go. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
I'm gonna jump out of this window.